Hello and welcome to Podcast for Students, brought to you by Jobs for Students, a free weekly newsletter which helps you find jobs around your campus, as well as internships and graduate jobs. If you haven't signed up, join 10,000 other students and sign up for free at j4s.careers. That's j4s.careers. Our first ever guest is Harry Bremner. Harry is a graduate of St Andrews, and while there, he had an internship in finance, but he also pursued entrepreneurship. He created a storage company called Local Student Storage, which is now in its 8th year, and he created a portfolio of events, including the very popular St Andrews Fight Club, now the highlight of the social calendar. After graduating, Harry turned down an offer to go into investment banking and instead pursued entrepreneurship. He did a master's in Tech Entrepreneurship at University College London, where he tested his idea for his new dog food brand, a sustainable dog food brand whose secret ingredient is insects. He's now launched Tuggs in the UK, and his dissertation advisor actually invested in the business. In this episode, we talked to Harry about what it was like studying in St Andrews, how he created his businesses, how he balanced his time, why he decided not to pursue finance, how to market to students, and what advice he would give himself if he had to start university all over again. Without further ado, let's jump into the episode with Harry. Thanks so much for joining me. So, you studied at St Andrews. What was that like?
St Andrews is a very unique place. It was an incredibly enjoyable experience from start to finish. There's just so much about it. Of course, there's the academic rigor. It's been going up the rankings year by year as well in terms of academic excellence and whatever else. But it's also kind of the culture of the place, the experiences, the people you meet. It's a really, really curious, interesting place where I learned a lot, not just about the subject that I studied, but about different types of people, cultures, life. So yeah, very interesting place.
Oh, fantastic. And if someone was visiting St Andrews, or maybe they're already a student there, is there one thing they may have not came across that, if your insights, you would recommend?
If they're not a student and they're visiting, well, I mean, it's interesting because St Andrews is, I think the population is maybe like 20,000 in the town, and about half of those are students. So you've got kind of like the locals, and then you've got the students, and like they don't mix so much. But so it depends what you're going up, and there's so much there as well. You've got like the golf, you've got the university, the history of the town, the beach. So there's just there's a lot that St Andrews offers. But I think the reality is, if you're not a student there, it's almost impossible to really get a flavor for what it's like to study there. Unless you study there, it's unfortunately probably out of the grasp of like a weekend visit.
Gotcha. Right, I'll cross it off my list.
No, I hope that's not what to be transparent, there's a lot still worth seeing, but maybe just you wouldn't get a flavor of the student life. But everything else,
you really need to study there. So you mentioned there about academic rigor, and I think that's something I can relate to because me and you both did maths degrees. But you also from your LinkedIn, you had a few at least side hustles and possibly more than side hustles, and also an internship. So while you're at St Andrews, so can you speak a bit about that and basically how you balanced your time with all of that as well?
No, sure. Well, I mean, so yeah, when I was in first year at St Andrews, I started a student storage company called Local Student Storage, and it still operates. I think this is our 8th year. So I started when I was in first year in 2014, kind of just my halls of residence. And that's a business that most students in the UK will be familiar with. You order online, you get some boxes and everything else delivered, store it over the summer, and then our company returns your items when you get back to uni. So really simple service, but it needs to be done well, it needs to be done affordably, and that's just when I arrived at St Andrews, there wasn't an option there that was both affordable and had this kind of on-demand ease of use. So that's what I set up, and it's now basically just a platform. You know, you can place an order. We operate in Edinburgh and St Andrews, and we connect to logistics and warehousing partners. And you know, it connects all through our app, and we can, you know, you can track your order. You can update everything pretty dynamically through the website, track everything in real time. So yeah, it's pretty much now just a sort of a tech platform, which is great. Then I set up an events company, which, I mean, the thing was, I kind of just saw an opportunity. St Andrews is, it's not a very big town. There's not much nightlife at all. And I kind of realized that from going out there. And I thought, well, there's an opportunity to try and actually create a really good night that I would want to enjoy, and then to, you know, make some profit from. I was working, you know, a couple of bar jobs at the time, which, you know, paid about £5 an hour. And that was the biggest issue, was working, you know, 8-hour shifts a night, and also studying. And so when I then started this events business, you know, one event would make about a month's worth of wages, and I actually freed up my time a lot more. So from that point of view, it was really, really beneficial. And then, yeah, you're right. I did an internship in finance. That was in my third year of university, and I guess that one was just about kind of. It was always a career I contemplated going into investment banking, and I just wanted to see for myself if it was for me, and it wasn't. I had a really good experience. I worked at a Canadian bank called Scotiabank in London, and yeah, I worked within 2 desks. Really enjoyed the experience, but learned very quickly from the experience that it wasn't for me. I just wouldn't allow myself to kind of be in that environment, I suppose. And I got offered a job as a full-time job, but at that stage the businesses were doing quite well. So I knew if I took that job, I would never get out of it, because your bonus comes every year, and it's significantly more than the year before, and your wages increase, and you're going up that corporate ladder. So I knew that if I took the job, it'd be very difficult to come out of it financially. So I just decided not to start.
Wow, that was fascinating. So the businesses were more like a need that you sort of saw in St Andrews, and then it was interesting, as you said as well, that it actually having the rather than being a drain on your time, they actually the nightclub jobs actually saved you time. And then it's
Exactly.
also like amazing foresight, like, because a lot of investment bankers are in that mess, or not in that mess, but they're sort of in that sort of trap, and they wish they had done something. So it was
Well,
a
yeah,
lot of
I
foresight
do. I
from
have a
you.
lot of friends now that work in finance, or, you know, consultancy, or whatever it may be. Well, especially finance, because of the wage package. And a lot of them have quite good ideas, quite entrepreneurial ideas, but the reality is they'd be taking a pay cut from, you know, whatever it might be, 200 grand a year, down to not very much, as you try, or nothing, as you try and scale your company. So it just becomes a little bit more unfeasible with the lifestyle you've created. So that was something I was really cautious of from the start.
That's amazing foresight. And so you actually went back to study at UCL, which is where I actually studied. So what did you study there, and how did you find UCL in London?
Yeah, sure. So no, it was called a Master's in Tech Entrepreneurship. That was the course. It was technically a Master's of Science. But I say technically because I don't view it that way. I wouldn't necessarily say I have an MSc. It was a very good course from the purpose that I entered it, which was to try and check the viability and have a platform to test an idea in the right environment. But I'm not sure. It's a lot of these university masters who get packaged up for, you know, to generate income for the universities. UCL is great because they offer a 50% discount to British students, homegrown students, which I think is great. But you know, there are people in my course paying £35,000 for a 1 year master's in management, and I don't think that you can really study to be an entrepreneur. You have to practice it. It's like a sport, or it's like anything. Well, of course, some sciences and whatever you must study, but things like sport maybe, or other types of careers, you can't study to become one. You have to learn through doing. through practice, and that's 100% the case with entrepreneurship or starting your own business. So yes, but UCL, I also did it during COVID, so a lot of it was online, which wasn't ideal. Nothing UCL could do about that. But generally good experience, but not quite the same as an undergraduate. Did you do your undergraduate at UCL?
I did undergraduate maths at UCL, yes, before COVID. So
very impressive. So did you have to do the STEP exam to get in?
I did. I didn't have to, but I did end up doing the STEP exam, which was a horrible exam. So
very tough. Yeah. Well, no, that's very impressive. But I think as an undergraduate at UCL, it's a kind of different kettle of fish to being a graduate. But yes, no, still very glad I went there and had a really good experience.
And you're saying there about you want to test an idea, and I was joking last night that most people have forgotten their dissertation topic, but you've maybe got a business in it. So
exactly. So that was the fantastic part of my master's at UCL, was that I mean, the idea was you come in with an idea, and you spend the year kind of, I guess, learning some important stuff about how to validate it and check the feasibility of it, and then the dissertation is kind of like a bit of a business plan. So mine was whether or not there's what was the title again? Checking or testing the viability of an insect-based dog food product in the UK market, something like that. Yeah. So the dissertation, just I did hundreds and hundreds of interviews in very targeted segments of the market, and quickly realized the viability of the idea and made some early conclusions about the type of product that you could make. For example, I learned that consumers, whilst they have a propensity to purchase more sustainable products, they wouldn't do so if it compromised the nutritional quality of the food. Because one idea was, let's just create an insect-based product, fully insect, so that it's 100% sustainable. From the cyclical economy the insects, or the cyclical economy that insects are in. But consumers weren't interested. On a scale of 1 to 4, when they talked about price, quality, sustainability, and sort of what was the fourth one? I can't remember. Anyway, sustainability was at the bottom of the pile. It was the least important factor for consumers. Price was third, and quality was number 1. So I realized, like, what we need to do is create a product that's very, very healthy, very, nutritional, because the dog food industry is incredibly unhealthy. It's very processed. Commercial dog foods create very poor quality, dry dog food. So it was about creating very healthy food that had a sustainable touch. Anyway, so yes, this was my whole sort of dissertation, and then I submitted it, presented it, and about 2 weeks later, my advisor called me and invested in the business. And from then I realized, that I was going to pursue it.
Wow, I didn't realize your advisor of your dissertation invested in your business. That's very unique.
Yes, it was a very good sort of verification,
I'm sure. Wow, that's news to me. So congratulations on that. And just coming towards the end of the interview, you any students listening to this might want to start a business, but you have actually sold at least one business. What was that like?
Yeah, that was. I mean, I did sell. I sold the events business. I mean, not for any significant sum of money. Because, well, it was a bit. I'll tell you why it was great, because in St Andrews you have this unique kind of unique concept of a family at the university. So you have an academic father, an academic mother, academic brothers. So when you get as a first year, you get adopted by 2 third years, and they kind of welcome you to the university, show you the ropes, kind of thing. And there's a lot of traditions around that. So when I was leaving university, my academic son started creating some really cool events. I'd like to think, I showed him the ropes on that a little bit, but he was very talented in himself and was creating some really cool stuff. And so when I then left university, I sold the rights to some of the events that I'd created, or all of the rights to all of the events that I created to him. And then the main one is it's a student fight night called St Andrew's Fight Club, which I now believe is, you know, one of, if not the biggest event in the student calendar. And so that's still running. I think the last event was maybe like 6 weeks ago. So yeah, it wasn't a significant sum of money, but it was quite a nice kind of legacy to leave, I'd like to think.
Wow, that's fascinating, between your dissertation advisor investing in you and you selling your business to your student son.
Academic son, yeah.
That's fascinating. And then just final two questions. In both your like local student storage and also your the events business, what did you find, and this is also more for jobs for students as well than our listeners, but what did you find was the best way to market the students if it's not too much of a trade secret?
No, just have students advertise. Make sure hire students to advertise for you. People that are going to understand. Because the thing is, especially in the student storage industry, there are big companies based down in London, kind of multinational companies or just big UK companies that have a corporate office in London, but they don't understand. They don't do as well as us in St Andrews or Edinburgh because they don't understand the intricacies of types of societies to partner with, the locations that the students go to, the spots, the you know, the type of materials or the channels students are using to reliably look at information or read information. So we use students as much as we can that will, I suppose, infiltrate the market for us and get our advertising out. And that way there's a bit more word of mouth. It's a lot more, it's a lot more trustworthy. Yes, especially in St Andrews, I would say, where there are a lot of different like kind of club societies and events. You really need to have students dictate or tell you where's best to advertise and how.
Yeah. Who would have thought if you want to advertise to students, you need to hire students to do that for you?
Yeah.
And final question, if you had to get on a time machine, a bit philosophical, but if you had to get on a time machine and go back to this small town with 20,000 residents, 10,000 of which are students, what would you say to that younger Harry back then?
Well, I suppose, or if I were to restart again, perhaps. Well, no, yeah, no, good question. Just keep your eyes open, I suppose. I think I did that. So, what would I say? Yeah, something like that. Just, you know, keep your eyes, ears open. Yeah, probably. And probably not too much other advice. I like to think I made the most of my time there.
And going by your LinkedIn and everything I've seen about you, you definitely have. So Harry, thank you very much for doing this first ever podcast with me.
Fantastic. Delighted. No, really, really happy to. Didn't know I was the first, but that's fantastic.
I hope you enjoyed listening to that episode with Harry as much as I enjoyed recording it. If you're a student in Scotland and need somewhere to store your stuff over summer, do consider using local student storage. And if you or your parents own a dog and you would like to try some sustainable dog food with insects inside it, try Tuggs. Finally, Jobs for Students is a free weekly newsletter which helps UK students find jobs around their campus as well as internships and graduate jobs. Join 10,000 other students who have signed up for free at j4s.careers. That's j4s.careers. Thank you.